Good morning, everybody. September 11th. You know what happened on this day in 2001. Anyway, morning, September 11th, 2025. It's about 10:30 in the morning. And all I'm going to be talking about today is this thing that happened with Charlie Kirk yesterday. And if I had any, well, I have a lot of notes for other news. I didn't consolidate it all. Because this news overshadows about everything. I don't know if I'm going to do another video later on or not. Oh, look at that. Nobody's sitting on that bench. See, nobody's even heading for it. Gosh. Anyway, I don't know if I'm going to be doing another video talking about a lot of those other things. It takes so much time to go through all of the saved messages and things and then, reread them again and start taking notes on them and putting them into some sort of a analytical perspective. Like some of us old guys, been around a while and can remember hopefully a lot of different things. And I'm not trying to say I know more than anybody else or nothing, but I had a history degree, graduated with honors, and I worked for politicians and worked in military intelligence and for the commanding general of American forces in Germany and things like that. So it's just like putting a perspective together, and it's like some things I'm a complete idiot at, and even some things about politics and in the world. So it's not like anything like this. But anyway, this big news, this thing about Charlie Kirk, and of course a person could talk for hours on this, but a lot of things I'm going to leave out. What did he stand for? I'll mention some of that, but I'm not even positive myself. I didn't really follow Charlie Kirk that much. I mean, I didn't look at a lot of his things. I did a little bit of Candace Owens, because Candace Owens, it's a little bit similar. These people, they make zero policy decisions for the United States or for anybody anywhere, So they have absolutely no influence on the daily lives of anybody, really. So it's kind of like, it's not that for that reason I don't really follow those people, because a lot of the time they have some really interesting perspectives, and it's maybe a lot of the time the same perspective that you might have or a lot of people might have, and that's the reason why somebody should at some times cover what these people say and what they do. They're very, for example, and remember this word, influential. They're very influential with a lot of people. So there's things that Charlie Kirk was for that I'm very, very strongly against, and there are things that he is for that I am also very strongly for, and some things I don't have so much of an opinion. It's similar to this thing about like pro-life. Some people feel so strongly to be pro-life, and some say pro-choice, and they even create those words, pro-choice. They do that purposefully so that you would say, oh, I'm for free choice, freedom of choice. And then, I don't know, pro-life. I don't know. It's just a whole big bag of worms in America. I don't know what the best way to call it is. Confused. America is a confused place. Everybody's confused. Everybody makes everybody confused. They make the world confused. The world is confused. And I was just reading an article even before this about Charlie Kirk, and they're talking about Kaya Kallis largely, and then even mentioning on a side note Baerbock, and how you get these people that are, I don't know, the article was, I think, trying to make them out to be complete total dimwits that don't know anything about anything at all, and yet here they're the ones that actually do influence our lives. They do sign policies, they do make decisions, that things have to be carried out. Not like Charlie Kirk. He any decision he had has nothing to do with anybody's comment. So why would the heck would anybody want to kill somebody like that? It's not like Benjamin Netanyahu, for example, but there's people celebrating that this guy was murdered. I may get into, I didn't even write down a lot of this stuff. So I guess there's maybe hundreds of people going on TikTok and so many people celebrating. Even some were celebrating right there where the guy was killed. You know, and I tell you what, if you have not seen the video, you might not want to see it. It's even more sad than that Ukrainian woman also being killed basically from the same place. Maybe Charlie Kirk was killed on the left side and she was killed on the right side of the neck. My God, you know. And a lot of people are saying that is very suspicious, that they would be shot right there. Ah, man. And his shot was apparently even more accurate. He had less time to live, it looked like, than even she did. And all this stuff about, oh, we don't know if he's going to pull through, it could be a miracle. It looked like there was somebody there that saw this, and she said it looked like he was like gone in seconds, and it really, really did. And it was like even more, far more blood than this woman that got killed with that guy that pulled out his pocket knife. And then people are talking about, oh, we have to ban, you know, they're talking about banning guns or banning dangerous weapons. Well, this guy had a friggin' pocket knife. So I guess it would have been good if he maybe just decided to leave home with a steak knife instead, which would have probably been even far more deadly than his little pocket knife. But it was still deadly enough. Oh, and it's not racial. It's not racially motivated, even though they caught it on audio that this guy was, you know, bragging about the fact that he stabbed this white girl. He didn't even know who she was. It had nothing to do with politics. He didn't know she was Ukrainian. She just got in and sat down there, and the guy thought it would be cool. And this same guy, he's coming around now. I guess they have some recording with him talking to his sister or something like that, and he's saying that it wasn't really him that did it. Somebody put some material in him. So he's sitting there in prison trying to think of, how do I get out of this? How do I get out of this? Oh man. So they said they put some material in him. What does he mean by material? Is he trying to say they put a computer chip in him, like Elon Musk's talking about how they can do certain things and influence people with computer chips? So what happened? Oh, they knew that this woman would come in and sit in front of him, that maybe that she was Ukrainian, maybe that she was white, maybe that she was a woman. Oh, but it was definitely racially motivated. You know, and I tell you what a lot of this stuff does, and I've even seen this, I'm noticing this myself, you know, at a time when I was in the States. I hadn't been in the States really for many decades, and I was in the Army, and it's like some people have a little bit of a racial tendency. Most people didn't really give a crap, black or white, but there were blacks that, you know, they basically hated whites, and of course I was the victim a few times of that sort of a thing. But most of them, and it almost depends on what kind of unit you're in. You know, when you're in some kind of a line unit, people more close to combat, but let me say combat support. Sometimes those are worse people. But I don't know. Then I was in another unit, and I never heard any mention whatsoever of anything racial between blacks or whites at all. But then lately, in these past couple of years, people are starting to talk like that. You're starting to hear like a lot of white people that are anti-black. And I was thinking, you know, what the heck is going on here? And of course, when I was living in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, which is 96 or 97% black people, once in a while you run up to black people, and it's like nearly every hour of their life they have to come out and say something against white people. You know, it's like so in other words, what I'm saying is it's on both sides. There's some really crazy stuff. But anyway, we're talking about Charlie Kirk. You know, for the most part, I'm just talking about, you know, this violence and the crap that's going on in the world, and it's like insanity. You know, it's like, and apparently a lot of, you know, obviously a lot of this is in Europe too. Look at the UK. Look at what's going on here. And this Tommy Robinson, you know, he's kind of a product of what is happening. You know. And these people are like pushed into being racist or something. I don't know. I tell you what, I'm glad to be in Belarus, and it makes me wonder if this stuff is going to ever happen here. I don't know. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. But I'm feeling for a lot of you people that are living in, I guess it's the West, you know, because we have a lot of Chinese here. We have blacks, a lot of blacks coming in, Indian, Pakistanis, and all that. And you know, you don't hear, you don't see anything really. I don't know. That's enough of that stuff. I don't even really want to talk about that. But anyway, the only things that I would say about Charlie Kirk otherwise is he was what? He was anti-woke, he was pro-family. I guess he's pro-life, like I said. He's apparently anti-Ukraine, which means anti-government, Ukraine government, not anti-Ukrainian people. I'm positive he's not like that. He's not a really stupid person. He's not a stupid person at all. He would never be anti-Ukrainian people. He might just like this government, which, and it's the strange thing. A lot of them are avowed Nazis, and they love Nazism. They love the Nazism, the Ukrainian government. Most all of them. And I'm not saying all. Most all of them. Zelensky, he's even come right out and said the only thing that keeps him going is his hatred of Russians, which is not, Nazism. It's just like a lot of these people in Israel, they hate Arabs. They hate all Arabs. As a matter of fact, they hate a lot of people. They hate more than just Arabs. I think a lot of them, they hate black people. They even brought in at one point in time, I believe it was from Somalia or from certain places, from black Jewish people, and then they discriminate against them while they are in Israel. They did it for a PR stunt, and then they're trying to get rid of them. Because I tell you, it's a sick ideology in the world. Anyway, a lot of people that are even watching this, they might not even have any sympathy towards me because they have adopted a anti-this and anti-that attitude. Wow, I don't know. So anyhow, this guy, this doesn't make sense to me. Catch this. This is where you're going to find out a lot about me, whether you don't like me or you do like me. But anyway, apparently he was very pro-Israel, and he's apparently a very Christian person. And that doesn't really jive. I mean, pro-Israel government. The Israeli people, obviously the vast majority of them are Zionist. Most of the time they wouldn't be there if they didn't. And Zionism, for the most part, a lot of this is a hatred of Jesus. And you might say, oh no, there are Christian Zionists and all that. But look at Tom Cruise and all that. And talk to these Zionist Jews. And I have nothing against Jews. I like Jews. One of my favorite people in the world is Max Blumenthal, Gilad Atzmon, and these are Jews. But these are humanistic Jews. They don't say we are superior, we are God's chosen, we are better than you, and we should kill all of these people. They're not that. That's a Zionist attitude, by the way. It's not a Jewish. It's I don't know. So when I say Jew, I have to try to be careful and mean. You have to understand Zionist Judaism and just regular Judaism. And Max Blumenthal, for example, he is completely disgusted by these Zionist Jews trying to equate Judaism to Zionist Judaism. And that is exactly what their aim is to do, is to push all Jews to become Zionist Jews, which is Nazism. They're Zio-Nazis. They want the extermination, or at least the ethnic cleansing of Gaza and things. And then you see even Donald Trump, And Donald Trump has done some very nice things in his lifetime. He's been very charitable, and which confuses me very much about Donald Trump. He's got a very good side. There is no doubt about that. But yet he wants the ethnic cleansing of all of Gaza to build a building project. And it's like, he says about Ukraine and all that, he wants to stop the killing, but yet he's giving the bombs to do more killing. He gives even far more bombs to Israel to do even more killing, and he wants the ethnic cleansing to kick these people out of their land that they've grown up for hundreds of years. These are the descendants of Jesus. Jesus, and a lot of, oh no, Jesus was a Jew. Well, Jesus wasn't a Jew. Jesus was a Christian. Judaism, as far as I thought, was a religion. It's not a nationality, but they're trying to make you think it's a nationality. It's a friggin' religion. And Jesus happens to be the first Christian. No, Jesus was a Jew. No, Jesus was maybe a Jew, born amongst those people, but he was a Christian. Can you deny that? Can anybody out there deny the fact? Or what? Did Jesus convert? So are you saying, some of these people are saying that Jesus is God. But how does Jesus talk about God? Is he talking about himself? So I tell you what, I wasn't alive back then. I didn't know Jesus. I know that Jesus walked the earth, and Jesus was possibly the most phenomenal being that ever walked the planet Earth. I'm not, who am I to say, he's a God? He is a God, he is the God, or is he a human? But he walked the earth. To the best of my knowledge, he was human. But I'm just going to say I suspect that. Anyway, you guys are finding out a lot about me. So I don't really go with a lot of this crap. And to me, Charlie Kirk was a Christian, but yet he loved Zionist Jews that openly say that if Jesus ever showed his face again, that they would kill him. Jeez, what a bunch of crap. The Muslims, and you're told, you're taught, you're brought up to a large extent, at least in my day, to hate Muslims. You are supposed to hate Muslims, and you're supposed to think they want to strap bombs to themselves and kill Christians or kill Jews and things like that. And I don't really even understand. There seemed to be a phase when people were doing that. I think Gerald Celente was saying that when you when people lose everything and they've got nothing left to lose, they lose it. I don't know. But the Muslims, there's a teaching in Islam, and I'm not even sure where this comes from. I doubt very much it's in the Quran. I don't know if it's in the Hadiths, but I don't know. This is looked at as a wise saying for the Muslims. So, and like I said, I have nothing against the Jews, nothing against the Muslims, nothing against the Christians. I equate myself a little bit more of a Christian, but Christians will say, "Oh, you're not a Christian. You have to believe in every single thing in the Bible," which I don't. I don't believe in everything at all in the Old Testament. I believe the things that makes absolute sense and are perfectly logical, and there's no way to dispute them. Things that Jesus said and things that Jesus might have done. And a lot of the time, I don't even believe that a lot of the stuff that is attributed to Jesus in the New Testament is necessarily true. Maybe they put some crap in there, but Jesus, I don't know. I've already mentioned how some of the most brilliant things that have probably ever been said were spoken by Jesus, but I don't know about everything that's in there. There's even things in the Gnostic Bible that are absolutely brilliant that is attributed to Jesus, but then that's not accepted into Christianity. But anyway, let's go. What did the Muslims say? What the Muslims actually teach, they say, and this might shock a lot of you. You might think they all hate the Jews, but it says, a Jew is your friend. This is what the Muslims say. A Jew is your friend. A Christian is your friend. But when you have Jews and Christians that are friends, those are your enemies. And I guess mostly what they're talking about are these Zionist Jews. And I think what they're referring to is the fact that you have these Christians such as Ted Cruz, for example, or Mike Huckabee, that love these people that say they want to kill Jesus if he ever shows his face. So these people, at the very least, they hate Jesus. They have a hatred of Jesus, and yet you have these Christians that are supposed to love Jesus, as far as I know, but yet they love the ones that they hate the Jesus. And then there are those that love Jesus, such as the Muslims do love Jesus. That shouldn't be a big shocker to anybody who has a brain that has looked this stuff up. The Muslims do love Jesus, but yet these Zionist Christians hate the Muslims. And they love the ones that hate Jesus. In other words, I don't know about Charlie Kirk. I really don't. I don't know what his exact beliefs are or anything like that. But if I was at any of these little debates and things like that, I would bring that up. I would say, well, how do you justify that? People that hate Jesus, and you love them, but the ones that love Jesus, you hate them, and you call yourself a Christian. That doesn't make any sense to me. Anyhow, I don't know. If you guys understand that, I don't know, maybe I'll probably get some subscribers dropping. So anybody out there that doesn't see any sense, and you don't have to agree with me, I don't really care. But if you don't see any sense in that, what I just said, then you go ahead and just drop yourself. And if those are you out there that see that makes kind of sense, you don't even have to like me, but you can press the subscribe button and push a like as well. Anyway, let me keep going. But I wanted to emphasize the point that this Kirk, Charlie Kirk, he's not a politician. He has no say over anything. He has never done anything to harm any of these people, except get up there and talk and be influential. That's his only crime, is the fact that he is influential. Wow. He's not a rich guy. He never put any money into giving anybody any bombs. He's never, he hasn't bombed anyone himself. He probably doesn't even own a gun. I don't know. Even though I guess he is pro-gun. Maybe he does have a gun. I have no idea. Does that make it a crime? I don't know. Everybody in Switzerland has a gun. Most people have multiple guns. All male men. And as a matter of fact, you are required to have a gun in Switzerland. But yet there is far less violence in Switzerland, far, far less, even per capita, than there is anywhere in the United States, especially like Chicago and stuff. It's like what I'm talking about Donald Trump. Apparently he really, really reduced the crime in Washington, D.C. Apparently that is very successful. I guess he just went in and took these people that are friggin' criminals. And now you have these criminals, these people that are killers, these gang members that are into drugs and selling drugs to your kids and all that. And they all saying we should all band together, to fight against, the National Guard if they come here. So we have a right to get your children addicted to drugs and for us to carry guns and to kill each other. Wow. Wow, America. That's what I'm talking about. Confused. Is it the world confused? Wow. Confused. What is that song by Green Day? Subliminal, boom, pluck America. One nation controlled by the media. This is the time right now where you should watch that, what is it called? Don't Want to Be an American Idiot. Controlled by the media. I love that song, by the way. So, anyway, see the video. Very good video, too, by the way. Damn. I tell you what. I'm sitting over here, and nothing like that really ever happens here, but I'm sitting there wondering about America. And then somebody, who is this Crockett, this crazy black lady? And I'm not anti-black. I don't like people that are anti-black, to be honest with you. But this woman, and what was she saying? 80% of violent crimes in America are done by white people? Friggin' A, go to the friggin' prisons. I worked in a prison for years. The vast majority, unfortunately, are black people. And this is not against black people. I have to keep reiterating that. So, I was in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I got along, and they're 96% black people. I had less, and what is it? Maybe white people are, 2-3%? I have no idea. There's Indian, there's black, and there's white. I had more, I had more people I disliked and did not get along with that were white than I did with black. As a matter of fact, I don't even know if there's any black people I did not get along with in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Yes, I even told you, there's some guy I remember there, he owns a building. He's a rich guy. He owns a business building, and he rents out to businesses and stuff, and he goes around and talks about anti-white crap like that. He wasn't my enemy or nothing like that. I just didn't agree with the guy. I wasn't friends with him. I only saw him a couple times, and I know white guys that I like there as well. But then I know white guys that are some of the, matter of fact, one of them just got shot and killed, I think, like two months ago. He was a nasty guy. He was my next door neighbor, by the way. I'm not saying I wish that he would die or nothing like that. I just didn't want anything to do with the guy. Once I walked past his house, he went into his house and he got a gun, went out to the end of his driveway, bam, 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 and started shooting his gun off, like meaning he's going to kill me. As a matter of fact, right before that, minutes before that, it was a black guy, he was a politician. Matter of fact, I could say I don't like that guy. I'm not enemies with him. But he was calling me, you're probably a wanted criminal from America. He was a politician. He didn't get the seat, and I said I didn't vote for him, and maybe he's blaming me. So he's coming up with that crap like that. And a couple of days later, my cats were dead, or one of my cats was gone. The next night, one of them was decapitated. So then the other one, we didn't even let it out at night. It kept it inside all night long and all that. Otherwise, we let our cats, we left the window open. They can go in and out whenever they wanted to. I don't know. Terrible world anyway. That's the West for you. So let's talk a little bit more. Strange they don't have the killer with all these experts, They can tell by the way Kirk was sitting. They even have friggin' film footage. It's on film, multiple cameras. They know exactly which direction the bullet came from, so they would know where it was fired from. That's not very difficult at all. They could probably even tell what distance it was based on what kind of a bullet it is. There are these forensic experts. They can tell a lot of things, you know, I tell you what. They still don't have this killer, apparently. And it makes you think of the Boston Marathon killers. You remember that? You know, the Chernoff brothers. And all the evidence points to the fact that they did not do it. There is no evidence, zero, absolutely zero evidence that points to the fact that they did it. They have the backpack where this bomb, you know, put in a pressure cooker. They have the backpack that bomb was put in. And then they have film footage of these boys, the Chernoff brothers, standing there, which they have a completely different backpack, you know? And then they have these people all wearing the same pants and shirts, all wearing sunglasses, you know, with communications on them. And guess what? They had those kind of backpacks. Those people, oh, but they're not suspects at all. You know, the entire thing points to the fact that they did it on purpose, and they've set up these two boys. And you know what this was all about? Your guess is as good as mine. If you guys want to find out the real truth, and it's written, and the guy did a really good expose, and I think he has all the pictures, is go to whatreallyhappened.com, Mike Rivero sites. He's actually the guy that kind of got me into even doing videos like this and all that. He sort of woke me up way back in 2001, you know, when 9/11 didn't sit right with me, and I started watching some of his stuff. And then, you know, and different people, and like reporters, investigative reporters, that says, oh, this looks like maybe somebody inside the government might be involved in 9/11. So they went up and they beat the guy up in front of his wife and children, broke his arm and tasered him, you know, in front of his children, you know, just for making a suggestion like that. That was Homeland Security. And at that time, I don't know, it wasn't Homeland Security, but in any case, at that time, what did they put in? An Israeli in charge of the Homeland Security. That's some Chernoff who was heavily invested in full body scanners and made lots and lots of money at that time. This is incredible. There's just so much stuff going on. It just doesn't make any sense. And they have film footage of the older Chernoff brother, the guy that knew some kind of martial arts, of the police arresting him completely naked and putting him in a cop car, you know, handcuffed. And yet the story came out, oh, his brother ran over him by accident. No, they killed him. The police killed him. Somebody killed him. Maybe, I don't know. The police got him. They had him in custody. So how did he end up dead? You know, we didn't see the body. We didn't see that he was run over. And what about the younger brother that they said, oh, they had him locked up? I don't know if they put him to death yet or not. Nobody was allowed to interview him. Nobody. There's nothing. There's no testimony whatsoever. Oh, well, that's not suspicious at all, is it, everybody? When in fact, this guy that stabbed this Ukrainian woman, they even have an audio tape of him getting interviewed while he's in prison with his sister. Maybe his sister recorded it. I don't know. When he said they put some material in his body, and I just said that. This is all just a bunch of bull crap here, you know? And it even goes on. There's even more crazy evidence here. They had two cameras pointed like at Charlie Kirk, and they showed people standing behind him and to the right, and they're making all these weird hand signals, you know, like this, and one guy with his arm crossing on his shoulder. There's two guys making weird hand signals. What the heck is all that about? You know, I don't know. And I think they're supposed to be his security. Maybe they were his security. I don't have any idea. What about Trump's security in Butler, Pennsylvania when he was shot? I don't know. This is some weird crap, to be honest with you. I don't buy anything anymore. But like I said, I'm not an expert. I'm not there. And what about Epstein? All of a sudden, I don't know, that you guys all know about the Epstein stuff. All of a sudden, it's all made up. It's all a hoax by the Democrats. Oh yeah, we believe that. Oh jeez. I'm getting kind of sick of all this stuff. So what the heck? You know, there's no lack of material where you can sit here and make these videos on, you know, but it's like, wow. Yeah, what about the guy spotted on the roof? Some guy up on the roof, dressed in black apparently, and there's film footage. You know, people were filming that, regular people, saying, what's this guy doing on the roof? We just saw him run over there and sit down over here. This was before Charlie Kirk got got shot. You know? And then they have film footage. Somebody was filming the guy after he got shot, and he's running away. He's up on top of a roof a distance away, and he's running away. I'm not saying that the guy made the shot. Very, very probable he did, but it's not one, you know. And I think there was some guy coming out, and I think, you know, all this stuff is on social media. Some guy saying, "Oh, I didn't do it. This is my equipment, my camera equipment that I was taking photos." I don't know if that's the same guy. Wow. What a bunch of messed up crap. They got social media is all involved in this stuff. All these people celebrating. There was people celebrating right there when he got shot. And you see the blood just gushing out of his neck. It's a horrible, horrible video. I mean, a horrible sight. Horrible thing, you know, to a guy that didn't do anything as far as I know. He might be influential. He is certainly influential. But he didn't sign any policy decisions, not like Ursula von der Leyen. Donald Trump, if you dislike him, you can go at, I mean, yeah. Anyway. Yes. What else? And there's a lot of people saying, oh, some say the government killed him. That wouldn't be shocking, would it? Or would it be? Remember, who's that guy? I forgot his name. He was a football player. And he was in Vietnam, and he was calling out on the radio, "It's me, don't stop firing, stop firing." And they kept firing, and they killed that guy, you know. Wow. Some say Israel did it, you know. He was a big supporter of Israel, but you know how, you know, but Israel is God's chosen people. God moves in mysterious ways. So maybe there's something there that they get some advantage to killing this guy as well. Anyway, over 30 minutes this video. This is just some weird stuff. You guys can find all this stuff that I just told you all if you haven't already known. There's probably more stuff going to be coming out. They didn't have the killer yet, at least by the time I'm now making this. Maybe by the time it's uploaded onto YouTube, they will have the killer, at least who's supposed to be the killer. Maybe it's going to be like the killer, supposedly like Lee Harvey Oswald, where they kill him before they can find out if he actually really and truly was the killer or not. You know, I tell you, makes you want to, it just makes you sick. Makes you sick, you know, and it's even in Russia, it's everywhere. Whenever there's somebody that did some killings, a lot of time, you know, they kill the person a lot of time on the spot before, you know. Even I was in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and there's some kind of shady stuff happened there. I don't even really want to talk about that either, but this one guy killed this other guy. As a matter of fact, the guy that was killed, I knew that guy, you know. I think I just saw him a few weeks before that, and somebody apparently escaped from jail, and they went right over to this guy's place, broke into his house where this guy that I know was watching TV, and this guy went for his gun, and supposedly, you know, nobody's alive to tell the truth. Dead men tell no tales. So supposedly what happened was this guy was going for his gun, and the criminal got the gun and shot and killed that guy. And as the guy was on the run, he was on public transportation like the next day, and the police were pulling over this, you know, they have vans of public transportation in the small country like that. So the van was pulling over this, the police were pulling over this van. So this guy, he jumped out the window and started running, and the police shot him and shot him dead. You know, they technically could have shot him in the legs or something. It's not that difficult, really. And it was close enough to do that. And so the window was open where the guy jumped out this window. And then, of course, I think the van was evacuated, everybody out and all that sort of thing. And then afterwards, when this van went to town, a policeman reached into that little window on the back, the last seat on the van, and found a gun. Oh, isn't that like magic? Very, very magical. So the entire story might be a bunch of crap, you know? That's just how easy this stuff is, you know, to set this up, you know, to find evidence in inverted commas, as they say. planting evidence. It's just like the Israelis, and everybody knows, and Americans as well. They shoot somebody dead, and then they have some old guns that they stick by there and say the guy drew a gun on me. Ah, man, it's all just common stuff. Crap. Anyway, that's all I have for right now. Flapping my jaws, and if this interests you or not, guys, I don't know. I don't get many views. And I was even complaining about YouTube doing this, and somebody says, oh, like, basically like inferring I'm some kind of a crybaby or something like that. Oh, well, I guess maybe Tulsi Gabbard is also a crybaby because she says the same stuff that I say, you know, that they actually, you know, influence and disinfluence certain channels and things like that. It's incredible. The whole world is, you know, everything is fixed. So anyhow, thanks for joining me. Till the next one. Bye, guys.